In the second episode of our Atlanta child murder series, we'll be discussing the stories of Milton Harvey and Yusuf Ali Bell. Let's get into it. Now, as we dive into the second episode of our series, it's important to note a few disclaimers. Now, these events did occur some 40 years ago, thus, information concerning these cases is quite limited. It's also important to note that Wayne Williams, seen here on the screen, has in fact been convicted of 2 of the 29 murders. And, the ATL police and FBI actually determined these cases to be closed after the final conviction of Wayne Williams. Now, viewer discretion is advised, and as these stories are quite disturbing, so it is important that if things like this do disturb you, that you do tune out of this programming. And finally, keep in mind the purpose and the of these series is to maintain continued awareness of these crimes, and also to help aid in solving at least some of these murders, as many of these victims were under the age of 10 and were so decomposed that the cause of deaths has never been uncovered in many of these cases. Now, the state of Georgia has recently reopened these cases and is currently using newfound technology, including DNA testing and other means of forensic science, in aiding the reinvestigations of these cases. Let's go ahead and get into Milton Harvey. Now, Milton, seen on the screen, was about 5 foot and weighed about 95 pounds at the time of his disappearance. He lived at 1396 Nash Road, Northwest, with his mother, Patricia Ellis, and stepfather, Roy Ellis, after moving from Lehigh Valley housing projects in 1973. Now, Milton Harvey was last seen at Citizens and Southern Bank on a yellow 10-speed bike at 3885 Gordon Road, approximately about 3 miles away from his home. Now, he was supposedly taking a $100 check to pay a credit card bill for his mother. And he had stayed home from school because his mother had brought the wrong shoes, and she was going to buy a new pair that evening. Now, a man working for a drilling company claimed to have seen 2 boys pushing a bike south just north of Fulton Industrial Boulevard around 12 noon on September 4th, 1979. About a week later, a neighbor found the boy's bike beside a pine tree off a Sandy Creek Road near Charlie Brown Airport. A prisoner who has not been named provided information on a 27-year-old 6'3" suspect in this case who claimed to be a quote-unquote homosexual into handcuffs and whips and capable of violence. Now, this quote-unquote suspect has not been named as well, and this story has never been proven or disproven. Sadly, the skeletal remains of Milton Harvey were found off Desert Road at Redwood Wine Road on the south side by a man claiming to pick up cans. Now, keep this in mind, guys. Oddly, someone also was claiming to pick up cans when the bodies of previous victims, Edward Smith and Alfred Evans, were found. That's just a side note. Now, Harvey's body was found missing the knee-length socks that he was wearing with the stripes at the top and blue sneakers, but his cause of death was undetermined. Now, Harvey's case has still been considered unsolved, and no leads have amounted to any clues at all. However, some speculation has surfaced about what may have occurred with many of these cases, including this one and other cases in this horrific era. So we'll get into that in just a moment. But right now, let's go ahead and get into Yusuf's story. Now, 9-year-old Yusuf, sometimes misspelled Yusef or Yusaf, in actuality was spelled Yusuf Ali Bell, was born December 31st, 1969. Now, little Yusuf was only 4'7" and weighed a mere 65 pounds at the time of his disappearance. He lived at 396 Ralston Street in the McDaniel Glen housing project with his family, including mother Camille Bell, sisters Tanya and Marie Bell, and brother Jonathan. His father, John Bell, his father was John Bell. Now, Yusuf soon moved with his mother to a new address at 434 Fulton Street, Southwest. Now, this location no longer is in existence. Yusuf was attending fifth grade classes at Dunbar Elementary and went to Warren Memorial Boys Club. Now, keep that in mind because there's many kids that were part of this series of murders that were part of this same club, the same boys club. Okay. Now, his one-time babysitter, Juanita St. George, 32, was stabbed and killed in December of 1981, and it is possibly believed that she may have known more of what may have happened to Yusuf, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Now, Yusuf was last seen with no shirt or shoes near the intersection of McDaniel and Fulton, getting into a blue car in the 300 block of Fulton Street, near bushes between a fenced-in playground and a red brick apartment building after buying Brunton stuff or snuff for a neighbor. Now, you remember back in the day, kids could go to the store and buy stuff like that for their parents or for other adults, and nobody blinked an eye at it. So, the Eula Birdsong is the name of the neighbor, and she sent him to Reese Grocery Store on McDaniel Street. She claims that that she saw him get into this car, and there were in fact 3 black males that were questioned on this situation. Now she says that she claims that the person driving the car looked like Yusuf's father, which is named John Bell. Now Camille's ex-husband is who John Bell is, just in case you guys don't remember that. And Camille claimed that this witness, Miss Birdsong, was actually untrustworthy because of her drinking problem. Now, Mr. Bell had insisted that Yusuf would be found safe. However, John Bell failed a polygraph test. Keep that in mind. Yusuf's body, unfortunately, was found on in a raised E.P. John Elementary building. Let me put up a picture of that school. This is an old picture of the school, and it was since been raised. It's been empty since 1973 and has now been torn down. But this is where his body was found, in a crawl space inside the school by a janitor, 30-year-old John Henry Ty of 769 Fraser Street. He says that he was looking for a place to urinate in the school. Now, Yusuf was found only in the cut-off brown shorts that he was last seen in, with a piece of masking tape stuck to them. He had been hit, unfortunately, over the head twice, and the cause of death was listed as asphyxiation by manual strangulation. Funeral services were held at 2 p.m. Tuesday, November 13th, 1979, at Great Mount Calvary Baptist Church, and he was buried in Southview Cemetery. So this is pretty sad that this happened to a 9-year-old child. And we see that his mother did fight for him and definitely partook in trying to find these children and also trying to find the murders of these children. So there has been a couple of theories that have come out in regards to this matter. One, of course, is that the father was involved in the murder of his son. Another theory is, again, well accepted and highly accepted, is that Wayne Williams is responsible for all 29 Atlanta murder victims, including the boys, girls, and the young men that were found murdered. Wayne Williams actually continues to maintain his innocence until this day. However, Wayne Williams was found leaving the scene of the crime of 2 of the young male victims. Now, investigators claim the fibers of his husky, along with other evidence, was found on 19 of the victims of the Atlanta murders. However, Wayne was only convicted of 2, which was Payne and Carter, and thus leading to evidence that there was not enough evidence to cause or enough cause for conviction for the other murders. Okay, so it makes you wonder why they closed these cases without really having just cause to do so. Now, another theory that is a quite deep theory that I will be discussing, at which I've decided to do in a members only video. It actually involves an intriguing story of a man named Charles Sanders, who is in fact a white supremacist and affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan. Now, he was an early suspect of the Atlanta murders and was actually recorded praising these murders, and also even confessing to some of them. Now, an alleged former friend of Charles Sanders gave an interview with the Payne Lindsay case. I meant to say Payne and Lindsay, not Payne and Carter, but Payne Lindsay case, stating that Sanders had admitted to them that he was responsible for the murders, and allegedly his brothers were involved with this as well. So we'll go ahead and get into that in a deeper episode. I really do believe it's a matter of something worth discussing, but definitely I want to protect myself in this situation. So I will be doing this on members only. Now, as we close this second episode, I do believe it is extremely important to keep in mind the racial climate of the time, as well as the location of these murders. Many times, the murders of Black people were often overlooked, covered up, or even ignored. But due to the widespread fear plaguing the area, this brought on national attention, which is believed to have caused the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, to look deeper into the situation, or at least appear to be doing so. Now, since these cases have been reopened, and for the sake of the precious children and their families, if you have any information which may lead to the solving of these cases, you are encouraged to contact the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, as well as the Atlanta Police Department. You can remain anonymous. All right, until next time, I will talk to you all later.